guys, good to see you, for real. It's been an amazing couple weeks, and we're going to talk about it a little bit. Just to give you an idea, I'm going to kind of give you the schedule of what we did, which doesn't at all give you the flavor of what really happened during those 2 weeks. But and then everybody's going to give little bits and pieces. This is just the schedule that we went through. It takes a couple days to get there and a couple days to get back. There's always 14 days involved, so there's like 10 days of actual things going on in Zimbabwe. So once we traveled there, we arrived in Harare, which is the capital city of Zimbabwe. We got there about 8 a.m., which is nice because sometimes we don't get there until 2, so it was a different, we like that. We were able to jump in our cars, load everything up. What did we have? 16, no, 3 times 8. Anyway, we had a bunch of packages of suitcases, and then we had picked up like 320 or so Bibles in cases at the airport. I met a guy there. We had that all arranged, and so we loaded everything up, and we drove 6 hours south down to Shredzi. And to unpack, that's where the mission house is. The original missionaries went there and built, and that's where they started the base of their ministries all in southern Zimbabwe. If I remember right, it's around 45 minutes from the border of South Africa, somewhere generally in that general area. So we get there, we get unpacked, we get going, and we pretty much hit the what's the phrase? I'm sorry, the ground. See, I'm not quite here yet. Hit the ground running. We did Zangudza is the church that helped send the core people to plant the church we planted 3 years ago in Checheche. There's a river between them. People would walk from Checheche to Ganzuga, and I have to look at my word. Zangudza. I try to start out with a G sometimes. Anyway, you don't care because you haven't been there to that town. But they would have to walk, and there's like hippos in the river, crocodiles, alligators, crocodiles, whatever, the ones that kill you, and snakes. I think it's 7 of the deadliest snakes on the planet are in Zimbabwe. I've never seen any of them, but you know, some of them hang out in water. So it's a dangerous place that people would walk across the river to go to church. About half the year, the river is up high enough that they can't, so they would take little boats, and there are crocodiles waiting for the boats to capsize, and people, they get eaten. I mean, there's just stories of that. That's why we started the 2 churches. So we went to the original church planting church. I'd never been there. What I did not know when we planned this is the very first church that the missionaries planted when they were there. So it's kind of a historic deal. And what's really neat is the number of people who made decisions for Christ in one day. They said it never had that many in one day ever in the history of that church, which was kind of cool to be part of the team that was doing that. So we start that out Friday night. The preaching Saturday all day long is VBS, and I know that things like, hey, whatever, that we're all day long outside in the African weather with lots of children running around, and it's an intense time. They'll tell you about that. I was comfortably sitting in a nice little plastic chair in the revival while they were out there working really hard. So, but we were doing the preaching, and it was really cool. We'll talk about that. Sunday, I finished up the revival, and then went back to Shredzi. What was that, hour and a half drive or so, something like that, in the rural area here. Monday, we go to the orphanage. You'll hear some stuff about the orphanage. We got a little tour, find out some needs. Got to see there's some new management from where we've been before. They did some shuffling of leadership. And you'll hear stories about the orphanage. That all happened on Monday. We always throw a big party for them at night, a big meal, and just hang out, play games and stuff like that with the kids. Tuesday is like a relaxed day. We go on safari. And I say relax unless you're being chased by elephants or lions, which we've had both. But that's Safari Day, and then we go at it again. Wednesday night, Chamberokia, VBS. We have several children there also that are sponsored by people here, so we got to meet those kids. VBS, you'll see pictures of that. We slept overnight there, and we had little 2-inch foam things to sleep on. And I was not prepared adequately for that, so that's the night where I rolled my suit pants up into a ball and used that for my pillow, and then got up in the morning and put them back on, and that's how we roll in Africa. We, the next day, went to a couple schools where there's living proof students. Friday, Saturday, Sunday was a 3-day VBS revival in Checheche, the church we planted 3 years ago. Monday, we drove 10 hours north to Victoria Falls, where we got to see the falls that night. The next morning, did a little bit of, there's some souvenir stuff, and then like I think it's around 11:30 or so, we got dropped off at the airport and started the trek home. The trek home is like this, 10-hour drive up to Victoria Falls. It's only an hour and a half plane drive down to Johannesburg, South Africa. Then was about an 8.5-hour flight up to Qatar. Friendly nations around there, Iran and stuff like that, are over there. And then it's like the 14.5-hour flight over to Chicago. And then it took us, 3 hours to get our luggage? Yeah. And because they had shut the airport down because of the weather, and everything was happening at once. And then what did we get here, about 2 in the morning or something? It should have been much earlier. So we were all trying to stay awake in the drive home. There may be moments, I'll admit, as I was driving, I was not fully awake. But that's the overview. This is the team. 2 people are not here. Dan Custis is not well. This team gave everything, literally everything there, to the point where I'm surprised this many of us are here. Dan was going down, and then he texted me this morning or last night, so I just can't do it. No problem, I got it. So I'll cover his pictures. Actually, I threw his out and put my own in, because I don't know what he was going to say. But, and then a gal named Gracie, and here's what's interesting, Angela, so here, this probably is painful right now. Angela put a ton of work into this team, Angela Cruz, and was ready to go, and was it a week ahead of time, had just a little surgery thing, and the doctor said no. What was interesting is God just takes care of things. He just knows what's happening, and we don't, because a couple weeks prior to that, I get a call from the mission. They said, hey, we got this gal. We'd like her to join your team. And I was like, oh okay. They're the ones who limited our team this year, because they were thinking elections, which are now actually next year. But so God worked it out. So we added a team member at the airport in Chicago that we'd never met till we got in through security and everything. And she almost didn't get in because of COVID tests and things. God just did amazing things through this team. He put this team together, and it was awesome. We'll talk more about that too. So let me go. We'll do the pictures, and then we'll walk down the aisle. I'll be Dan Custis for a moment. And did I hear it? Well, Dan Custis. He has a teacher's heart. He loves Jesus. He loves to tell people about Jesus. And so he will often go and he'll preach. He'll preach there. So we gave him a couple sermons to do. And so here's him preaching. He did the first sermon at the first place, the first revival. And you always have an interpreter. They speak Shona there. We speak English. And so, it takes a little bit to get into the rhythm. You do a sentence, let the interpreter go, and you go back and forth, and you get a rhythm. So he did a great job preaching. And then this is just another random picture of him helping with the VBS. The thing is, that at that first revival, this is that first church plant, it's all old school, right? We do the invitation hymn, and everybody sings and stands and dances and does their thing. And I don't remember the numbers. There were like 15, I think, at that church that were baptized. So some came each service. We had several sermons, several opportunities. And so we have all these people come forward that can get baptized, and all of a sudden, like, okay, we're heading to the river. I'm like, okay, and so, I never showed the video last service. Anyway, we go down there, and they're doing baptisms, and this guy that Dan's standing next to asks if Dan can baptize him, which is, I don't know if that's like huge. Like, hey, stranger, would you baptize me? That's just really cool. It didn't work out. We're going into the river, the same hippo-infested, river. Those are the deadliest animals in Zimbabwe. It didn't work because that's like the clothes we had too, right? So it's like it just didn't work. But that was just cool. He was honored to be asked, and that just speaks highly of his relationship and the way he's so authentic and real, and people can tell it, and that's what's cool. What's the next picture here? I loved his adaptability as well. I said he gave him a couple sermons to do, so he had a couple sermons prepared. And on the fly, things can change any moment there. So all of a sudden, it's like, okay, we're going to break up. Women go over here, men over here. They're going to do their thing. Men will do their thing. Let's just have a study. And I had done that actually the week before. So I'm a I've been preaching a long time, and it even kind of threw me off, like, well, I mean, I did it, it was fine. But it was like, internally, I'm like, oh boy, I got to make this thing work, because this is put together as a sermon, not as a study. They're two different animals. And I thought this would be a great experience for Dan. So I said, dude, you do this. And he's like, what? Anyway, and he did it, and he did great. This is a few church leaders, a few pastors that are in the area, and they got together, and he did a great job talking about how to share your faith and things like that. And then we had a question-answer time, and just talked about some of the issues that they're facing in Zimbabwe, and as pastors and as leaders, and we gave our perspective as to how to handle different things. One of them, has a wife, his pastor, and he has a wife who does not attend this church because she's part of one of the cults that are in the area. And I never remember the name of this group, but they wear all white, and they go off, and they kind of off on the side, and you always see them. There's groups of them, and they're like out. They're extremely committed to their faith, whatever they believe in. It's not Jesus. And they'll be out there in torrential rainfall and floods, in heat. I mean, they never leave. They're just out there committed to this thing. And his wife's part of that. And he's like, what do I do? And I said, well, here's the thing. You can't preach your wife to church. That's true in the States. That's true here. You can preach a lot of people, but you can't preach your wife and your children in the church. You've got to be authentic and we just talk and share live out your faith in a real way. And so it was a good conversation, and he did a great job there. Did I have another picture, or is that? Yeah, this is him teaching devotion. Again, that was a spur-of-the-moment thing. Hey, you want to do a devotion before school? They had a group devotion, so he's like, what do I do? I said, dude, we saw some ants on Safari Day. We saw, as we were driving, we looked down, there was a line of very large ants going across the road. He goes, I want to do something with ants. And so Proverbs 6 has some stuff about ants. So he made that up real quick and talked about, work and effort and teamwork and doing things together. Did a great job. And that's just a picture of him jumping at it. So it's cool because you get to do things you don't normally do. And if you're open to it, God will just use you in some pretty cool ways. So that's what those pictures are. I'm sure those are not pictures he chose, by the way. But I don't know what he was going to say. I think that's all four, right? Okay. Andy, take it away.
On?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is me and Cindy doing coloring with the kids. And it was really cool to walk around and see the kids just do their colors. And so I had a really awesome time with that. Could go on to the next one. Oh, this is just us just playing with the balls with the kids. I played catch with some of the kids when we were at, I think was at the school that we went to on Monday night. And some people were playing with the parachutes and all that. You can go ahead and go on to the next one. This is me and the pastor, I believe, at one of the places that we went to. We're having a couple of photos ops before we left. And then the next one. This is me and a lot of the kids just having a picture together. Do I have another picture? Okay. So this was my first time going on a missions trip, and I thought about going back in January, and then there was an opportunity to go. That came up in April, and I told Stacy this will be kind of awesome just to go, and I just wanted to experience something that you can't in the USA, and so it was experience. I really enjoyed the kids. You're not distracted by cell phones or any of that because there's places that we went to had no power or anything like that. And the scenery is absolutely gorgeous. Like at the safari, I really enjoy looking at the different creation and all that. And I meant to mention this the last service that it was completely hilarious when Dan Hansen was driving, because sometimes he forgot to see what side of the road that we were supposed to be on, and the theirs on the right side of the car. So I thought that was completely different.
You survived it, though.
Oh yeah, I did survive it. And I forgot to mention that I really felt you guys' prayers because I didn't even, so I take some anxiety medicine, but I also took some stuff to put on top of that, and I never used it. And so I felt really at peace, especially on the first flight. I had no nerves. I knew that I was with a team that's been there before and some people that haven't been there. So that really made the trip a lot of fun, and just us working together, we work really well together, so.
Okay, so my first picture is from the Children's Village, which is the orphanage. And I love going back here. It's awesome to see a lot of familiar faces from when I was there in 2019. And they do a great job of remembering us, as Cindy will attest to later on. So it's cool to see them all grown up. And something that I also really like about the Children's Village is with them being under new management, they're doing a lot to be really proactive with these kids, to teach them a lot of life skills. They have a fish hatchery and a chicken coop. And then also, the kids aren't just in one big orphanage with beds stacked up, and they're in basically a home setting. And so they have a house mom, and they're learning cooking, they're learning life skills. And so it really is more of a family setting. So I think it's cool to see how they're doing that and how they're, running this in a different way, and that these kids are going to go out into the world and they're going to have their faith and they're going to have a skill, and they're not going to, especially the women, prostitution is a thing there as well. So having a life skill that is beneficial, and they're not having to choose that other lifestyle, I think is awesome to see. And then this picture is with my sponsored kid, and I was paired up with him in 2019 when I went, and I was essentially either given the option to just be assigned somebody or to pick someone when we were at the school. And I chose to be assigned to someone, and when we met him, he was so shy and very timid and just looked scared, and he probably wouldn't have been the first kid I would have picked because he was kind of in the background and quiet. But I think it was such a blessing to be paired with him. Come to find out, he didn't have a dad. His mom had some mental illness, and so a lot of struggles in his life. But to be able to hopefully be a light in his life, to send cards and give gifts, and just to support him, and hopefully he continues on his faith journey, and it's just an awesome opportunity. So if anyone is interested in that, I think it is great. And if you end up going to Zimbabwe, you can meet your kid, and if you don't, we get to meet them and give gifts for you, and it's just great. The next one is just a picture of our team on our safari day. So, like Dan will talk about, or already talked about, our team changed and shifted, and we had to be flexible, and a lot of us had to step up in different roles, but it was awesome to see how everyone was so flexible and so positive along the way. I think each of us have very different gifts, and so it was awesome to see how those gifts came into the light while we were over there. And then the last picture I had was from the safari, and so being over there is just another awesome opportunity to see the creation of God, from the point of seeing the animals, and then just being able to see how God works through the people over there. They are so kind and have great hospitality. They are always welcoming us, and so that's awesome to see. And then I think, too, it's a neat experience to go over there and not be distracted by worldly possessions and work emails and all those things that get in the way of our faith. And they are just so connected with each other and with God without having all those distractions. So I think it's a good reminder when we go over there of the importance of God and not of just our worldly goals and our worldly passions.
Okay, so I decided to focus mostly on some relationships that I formed for my pictures while we were there. Um, I've done VBS programs in 3 countries now. This is the first time I've done it in a country where I don't speak the kids' language. So I was a little bit concerned about that, but as you'll see, God got us through that, and it went very smoothly. So this picture is at the end of our time it's at the end of our first day at the last church that we went to. Yeah. So yeah, this is a group of us out on the playground. A lot of our team was on the playground or out around the church grounds, taking pictures with the kids. The kid that you can see on the far right from your perspective in the white shirt and gray jacket, his name is Craig, and the next picture that I show is going to be one of him teaching me something, actually, which I thought was really cool. So yeah, Craig taught me this game, which is an indigenous Zimbabwean game. It's very similar to Mancala, if you know what that is. And basically, you draw a game board in the sand and use some rocks that you find around as game pieces. So I played a couple games with him, and then I played some games with some more of the kids, and I actually managed to win a few times, which made me feel pretty cool. And after that, in the spirit of drawing lines in the sand, I taught them how to play tic-tac-toe, and I got out a playground ball, and we played Foursquare too. So that was a really fun night. This is Aiden. Aiden was at Zangudza, the first church we went to, and Che, the 2 that are connected and across the river from each other. Aiden was just super excited to have his picture taken, and he didn't speak English very well, but he still was really fun to hang out with, and he was very excited about everything that we were doing. So I was really glad that I got to spend some time with him. And then finally, this last picture is me with Gwen, who is the daughter of the people who run the mission house and the orphanage that we went to. Me and Gwen had a really good time. She's really fun. We played some games. We played card games. We did the parachute with her and her family and friends on the last night. Also, I wanted to use this picture to talk about a story from the orphanage that I thought was really cool. There was one day when they ended up taking in a fair amount of kids unexpectedly, and they didn't have enough blankets for all of them. And soon after, the local grocery store in Cheretsey said that they wanted to make a donation, which they figured was either going to be money or groceries, but it turned out to be 50 blankets, which was exactly what they needed at that time from an unexpected source. So I thought that was really cool.
Before I talk about my photos, I just want to say last service, Dan said that we were kind of draining through. Like at the end of it, we were very tired. I just want you all to know I was tired like at the beginning and felt that way the entire time. So this photo, like, it's just like the parachute game. You know, like in elementary, we used to like just have a parachute and go up and down, and I did not like that in elementary. These kids loved it so much. Like there were like so many games we like had to like make up just for this. Like we had balls on it. We had like some go across while it was up, some went down. We tried the tent, like when you go up and they sit on it and the inside, that worked sometimes. But like they were just into this game that I did not like, and I was just really happy to see that someone does enjoy this, because like I'm glad my suffering in elementary was finally enjoyed by someone. Next photo, this is a picture of an elephant. Elephants are terrifying. Did you know that? My sister loves elephants, but they're scary. they can like crush the car if we like bother them and stuff. But like, this is just like a vacation-y part of it. Like, we all went for like, you know, ministry and helping the kids, but we did get to enjoy ourselves for these parts. We got to see just us like hanging out with a bunch of animals. Me and Dustin were in like a back of a truck while we were like in lawn chairs. That's not safe, but we like we were enjoying ourselves. Like, it was really fun. Next photo, I believe, is a waterfall. This photo does not do it justice. This isn't even like the fall everyone goes for. What is it, Victoria Fall?
Victoria Fall.
Yeah, that's like the big fall. This is just some random falls, and it is so beautiful. And I slept through half of it. I feel slightly bad about it, but it's not the first and won't be the last time I sleep in a vacation. So, speaking of, next photo, I slept a lot. I slept so much. Dan did not describe like how tired we were, and I feel like I had it worse than everyone. I just slept through most things. That first photo, that's the waterfall. Like, that's me sleeping at the waterfall. That second one, that was while we were giving out gifts to children. And that's supposed to be like a really happy moment, and I passed out. I don't remember that, but Dan showed me the photos, like, oh, I found it. It was really adorable, and I was like, I feel terrible now. Oh, that one was while we got back. I'm covered in boxes and stuff. Apparently, someone like came over to check if I was okay. I don't remember that, so that's sad. And that final one, like, there's a little suit in front of me. I'm curled up in a ball in that photo. It was comfortable. That's like one of the first time I slept in a car. I'm proud of myself. My exhaustion finally made me pass out. But yeah, like, the trip was great, and like, we got some of these moments that like I never expected. I thought it was just gonna be like, oh, we're helping children, but it really was good for us too. Yeah, that's it.
So this is my second trip to Zimbabwe. First time was in 2018. And when we were at the Children's Village, Emily and I did a salvation bracelet craft with the kids before dinner, and then we did some prayer journals. So after we'd done that, got my dinner and sat down at a table with a bunch of young men, started talking to them, and 2 boys came over to me and said, "Were you here in 2018?" And I said, "Yeah." And they started laughing, and one said to the other one, "Your shoes are glowing." Well, in 2018, we took tennis shoes to the kids at the orphanage and passed them out, and I told one of the kids, he had like an orange neon stripe or strip on his tennis shoe, and so I told him that it looked like his tennis shoes were glowing. For 4 years, every time they talked about me, that's what they remembered, was that I had said, "Your shoes are glowing." So I was able to reconnect with them. Each of them are on my left and on my right. So that was really cool to see that, you know, the things we say and the relationships we build, were really blessed by God this trip. The next picture is, these are pictures of Living Proof kids. The one on the right is Ruth. It's my 2018 picture, and then my picture from this year. And I will tell you that Ruth was from Chambarukia, which is where we did our VBS, and I was really excited about going because I thought I'd be able to see her quite frequently while we did the VBS and the kids were moving through the different lessons. Unfortunately, she had a change in guardianship, and so she wasn't at the school. I was able to meet up with her later at another school. She's in 8th grade, and she's now going to a secondary school, or they call it college, in Shredsey. Well, what Emmanuel told me was that when they have a change of guardianship like that, especially at her age in 8th grade, typically they will drop out of school and they will go to work. And because she is being sponsored by me, her guardian decided to keep her in school. So I think that's really important to know that, you know, when you sponsor a Living Proof child, it really does make a difference in their lives. $20 is not a lot of money each month, and it really has an eternal impact. The second group of pictures is Ashid. He is sponsored by my son and his family. And again, it's a 2018 and current year picture on the bottom. And then the picture on your far right is Amanda. I started sponsoring Ruth in, I believe it was 2017. And then while I was there, Brad and I decided to sponsor Amanda as well. And so we went to the store and bought her some gifts. And I was able to see her again this year. And you can see on the picture, she's putting her hand over my heart. And I was told that that's a sign of respect. In their culture, the kids are usually very stoic. They don't show a lot of emotion. It's really hard for them to smile. And so for her to reach out and give me a hug and do that was really, really important to me. It just, spoke of how important sponsoring her is. The next picture, I just want to preface, God is just so awesome. And I remember the falls being it was just breathless to see the beauty that God has created. And I want to share a picture with you. It's actually a video. But I want you to just look at the picture and just listen to how powerful our God is. It is just incredible that you can hear the power in the water as it comes down that waterfall. And just think about that for a minute as you watch the video. Isn't that awesome? In Che, when the men and women split, Emily and I did some ladies' prayer journals with the ladies, and afterwards, two of them came up to me and asked if we could do devotions for them. They didn't want to stop. They want us to continue. Since I've been home, I've had 4 or 5 of them reach out to me. When are we starting the devotions? When are the lessons going to begin? So I'm happy to say that there's something in the works where we're going to start that with them, to have either a weekly devotion, maybe meet every 6 weeks and have a Zoom call with them to do some lessons. I know when Angela and I went in 2018 and we got back, that was something that God really laid on our heart, but it just wasn't the right timing for it, I guess, because it never came to fruition. Well, this time the women approached me. They want to do this, and I just feel like it's God-inspired. So we're going to move forward with that. The last thing I want to say, I did a devotion one night. We have such an awesome team. It really was. Moody says that there's 3 kinds of faith. There's a struggling faith, and that's like a man out in the deep water, treading water with great fear. There's also a man who's clinging to the boat, the side of a boat. And then there's a man inside of the boat whose strength relies on God, who has faith in God, and is able to reach out and help others. And that's the kind of faith that God wants us to have. And I'll tell you, I'm not sure where everybody else was at the beginning of this trip in terms of what type of faith they had, but I will tell you, when we finished that last VBS on Saturday, we were all in the boat. And it was really awesome to see how God used some of our weaknesses and our strengths as a team to pull together and do glory for Him. And I'm just honored to be a part of the team.
So we did the three revivals, multiple services throughout the revivals. I don't know that there was a single time when an invitation was extended where someone did not come. There were people who came for prayer, people who came for repentance to change their life, to turn around and start living for God. And there were about 30 people. I think there were 30. It's hard to it's how do you say about, but it was like, well, there's language barriers from best we could tell from reports, there were 30 people who decided to give their life to Christ last week. And several of them were baptized. I guess I already said that. I can't remember if that was first service or just a few minutes ago. But they probably all had been by now. which is so amazing. This first picture is some that came in, I think that was Che. Yeah, that's Che. So there were students who, like, for the first time decided, whoa, I get it. And then there were older people who, finally clicked and became followers of Christ. And so it was really amazing to see that. I generally didn't take pictures because that's kind of a private moment. I mean, I know they're coming publicly, but I didn't like, pose, for your life moment. But I did kind of slide my camera up and take that one, just because I thought it just represented, there was so much of that going on. That's something I've never been a part of, like, at that level. I mean, I've been with a lot of people when they've accepted Christ, but it just kept happening. And we're kind of the catalyst. It's not like we were great or anything like that, but God uses us as visitors there to be the catalyst where they bring people in and get excitement going. And for many people in the areas where we went, some of them have never seen white people, especially the younger children that are growing up. The ones who are older, the British were there and have memories. But there's less and less white people in Zimbabwe, so that as the children keep growing and more keep coming, there's more who have never seen white people. So it's fascinating to them. They'll feel our skin to see if we feel different. They're wondering what's wrong with us. Are we sick? Like, why are we so pale? Our hair, everything. It's just fascinating. Just children, trying to figure things out. But even adults will kind of stare at us like, watch that guy. I mean, we don't know what they're doing. So one of you'll see pictures from time to time. There'll be some, I'll show in a minute, that there's a lot of women in bright red outfits. And that is like their identity as their church. They're very proud of the fact they believe in Jesus and they're a part of a particular church. And so they can walk through the community and you see that as their identity. Not in an ego thing, I don't believe, but it's just like, I'm part of something. One of the gals toward the end there stood up at this revival and just kind of gave her own little testimony. It was like some 30 years earlier, she had, missionaries had been to town and did a revival just like we had done. And it was during one of those revivals she had made a commitment to follow Jesus. And here she was 30 years later, now one of the church moms in the red, one of the leaders of how they do things. And she said, this is so important, that what we were doing there was so important. The decisions that people had made was so important. And it was just gratifying for us to hear that, because, we're just people. We're just like, I'm just a goofy guy. We all have our things. And I think, no, really, we really did something. Africa is different now. I've received this morning from Che, the preacher sent a picture of the church is packed today. And he said, thank you. Thank you for coming. It's still going. Like, revival's still happening. And another pastor sent me pictures yesterday of like all their people in the shirts. They had started handing out shirts that we brought shirts to the 3 of the different churches with their name on it. And just everybody's so excited that there's a ripple effect. I think of all the people this church mom through 30 years ago became a Christian, all the people she's affected over the years because some missionaries went there. I wonder in 30 years, these 30 people that we've, it was 30 people that we have had a touch of their life, the ripple effect from all of them. It'll be cool someday to go to heaven and be people with it, because you guys helped us go, because we went, because God was involved with all of this. We'll be dancing together in heaven. And now that I've seen them dance and us dance, I'm going to say most of us need lessons. Myself included. Anyway, that's what that is. It's really cool. The second photo is a street evangelism, something that really wouldn't go over well here. I mean, I did it back in the 80s and with interesting results. But in here, it was, we were, instead of meeting for revival, one of the sessions, they said, hey, let's just break up and go through the neighborhoods. So one of the pictures, that's what a neighborhood would look like in Che. I mean, you just think like, well, I see a couple, 3 houses, but like it's just a cluster of houses. Then you go a little ways further, there's another cluster of houses. I mean, that where you're looking at the street and the grass. And I mean, it's like, it's just open just what it is. So we're walking around. We jumped in the back of the truck and went to a different area than the other people. In the upper left-hand corner, that's someone's backyard. We just walked in their backyard and said, we want to talk about Jesus. They're like, okay. And so they sat down. I want you all to try that this week and see how that works. And they're listening, and the kids started following us along. They're singing and dancing. One of the church moms there, yeah, she's in there in the red. She'd teach them a song, and so the number of kids started growing as we went from house to house. Down here in the bottom, that was like the second place we went. I mean, they full on like preached. He took out his Bible and started preaching to these people that I mean, he didn't know them either. The preacher there is from Triangle, Zimbabwe, which is the first place I preached several years ago. It's in a whole different area, so he wouldn't have known these people either. We went to a construction site, the first stop. And they were laying bricks on a house, the cinder blocks, and he just shows up and said, I'd like to tell you about Jesus. So like the whole crew stopped for like a half an hour. He sat there and preached to him. Go ahead and try that next week as well. A construction site of your choice and see how that goes. It blew me away. Part of that is that the culture is they're very welcoming and relationship-based. I had to be reminded a few times. I'm always like, okay, hey, yeah, here we're going to go do this. Like, no, you don't just start a conversation with, let's go do something. You start with, hello, how are you? I'm fine, how are you? You know, and you go through some pleasantries before you even get to the conversation. And so they did it here. Yeah, we'll stop what we're doing and hear whatever you got to say. And it was just kind of cool. I understand people did come to the next service we had from the efforts that we did, the different groups, as we went to the neighborhoods. Custis was in a different group, Dan Custis, and like he like bought everybody sodas at some, went to, they're like walked by like a bar, establishment of some sort, and he goes, everybody's thirsty, aren't you? Yeah, his group, I'll buy you all soda. He just happened to have enough money, he's like, but there was an intoxicated guy there, he's like, buy me a beer. And he goes, well, I won't give you a beer, but I'll give you Jesus, you know. And he had a little conversation with them, and I thought he was really cool. Some of the little stories I heard from that. So street evangelism, who knew? It was pretty cool. The third photo, these are the 3 different churches we went to. And it's just like in the States. Every church has its own little personality. I mean, it's just, we just do. Different flavor of how maybe you sing a song, or the style of music, or the style of clothing, or even that little accent and the way they talk. It's fascinating for me to just observe that in a church. And the one on the left there is Che. The one at the top is Ngudza, which is the first one we went to. The one on the bottom is Chambarakia. The bottom one there, that room was absolutely packed, and people kept pouring in, and I'm like, I really don't know where we're going to do this. Dan Custis did a sermon there, and then there was a break. They did more singing and dancing. Then we'll do another sermon, and like the interpreter had to stand like a ways away from me because there was nowhere to go, and that was the service where Danielle and Thad's child they sponsor stood up and accepted Christ and made a commitment to be baptized. It was so cool. They did their things. One of these, I think it was I don't remember which one. I would tell the church, we brought you shirts, we brought you gifts, this big to bring a gift, right? And then when I told them we brought Bibles, there were, I think, a couple women anyway, maybe there were 3 that at different levels jumped up and screamed. They were so thrilled. They were just absolutely amazed. The Bibles, people just don't have Bibles. And they say, we brought you Bibles. They were overwhelmed with joy over that. So this Chamber Rokia, we do the revival, we do everything that's packed, everything's crazy. And then they say to us, they say, well, it's getting late, you can go on and go to bed if you'd like. We're gonna continue. And at first I'm like, I'm going to stay up, I'm going to do this, and everybody went, you guys are wimps, what are you doing? Of course, they were out doing VBS all day. They're ready to get some rest. And I had to do something, I can't remember, I got called away, and so I went, and then I thought, I'm not going to go back in, it'd be awkward. What's that? Devotion, was that? Anyway, they went all night long, literally all night long, dancing, singing, beating on the drums, praying, dancing, singing. There'd be multiple, we'd wake up at different times like they're still going. Like, maybe I'm glad I came to bed. It was just cool. It was just cool to be a part of that environment. They were so excited. Is that the place where I had to roll up my pastors? They couldn't know where to suits, right? So I had my suits. I had to roll my pants up because we didn't have any bedding or anything, and I used my pants as my pillow that night. And I got up the next day and put them on and went out and did my thing there. I mean, there's no power, there's no water, there's no anything. There's spiders. A lot of spiders. Anyway, it was amazing to see all of that going on. I'm still talking about that. Okay, I got one more picture, don't I? I probably got to wrap this up soon, don't we? This picture of the team. The bottom right is the very end. It's like our last big meal. We had a big birthday bash for Dustin because he had a birthday. Really, the next day we're going to be on the airplanes, and we thought we'll have the birthday now. We had bought cake and all the ice cream and stuff at the store. It was really delicious. The one on the left is when we were naive and thought, look how fresh we look. I'm so amazingly impressed with this team. I know people have said it, and maybe I mentioned it earlier too. God put this team together. He assembled this team knowing exactly what was needed, knowing exactly what had to happen, and he orchestrated the whole thing. And they're just amazing. I can't say enough how amazing this group is. And I told them at some point during the week, we meet every night and have our debrief and where you see God move, and we have a devotion and everything. And one of the nights, I said to me, listen carefully what I say, because I'm not saying this to offend. I'm saying this like, there's none of you I would not invite on this trip, right, to be part of this team. But if I were to assemble the team myself and handpick, this wouldn't have been the team. You know, I mean, like I would have you all in it, but I would have assembled something differently. I don't know what I would. I don't think that way. I figure God has a better plan than me, and it was masterful how he did this. It was masterful. I could talk about every single one, but then we'll go into another. We will have a 3-hour service. It was just amazing and wonderful from my perspective to sit back and just see what was going on and. This church has a reputation there in Zimbabwe and in the mission that's based in Kentucky of being extremely productive and obedient to God, and it's because we allow Him to do the work. You know, we get it out of the way and let Him do things. We plan and stuff, but God just used this team. It was amazing. We heard about the orphanage, and you heard some of their goal to teach children a skill so that they don't have to go into prostitution or just get married the first person they find who can support them. And one of the things they were saying was they want to teach them baking skills. And they need some baking supplies, you know, pans and things like that. And we're like, well, let's see what you got. And I was like, what was in there? Like a spoon or something. I mean, like there was like nothing. Like it's just a dream. It's a goal we have. Like, oh, okay, that's good to know. And devotions that night, we got together. We talked about the situation there and how we could be a life-changing agent for these next few generations of children in the orphanage. And so we took an offering to go toward purchasing some baked goods. This was like money that the team brought for their own souvenirs. Like there's the team money that's used for ministry and stuff that's already figured out. And then there's like we stuff, oh, I'm going to buy an elephant, a wooden elephant, whatever. We took an offering that night, and it was like $710, which is like a lot to really do what they needed. They were thrilled. And she's going to send pictures when they get them. She's also very good, Megan, the gal that is helping there. She'll send pictures when they give it. She can get it cheaper through South Africa and yada yada. But we're making a difference there because of what this team did. The prayer journals, everything, the vacation Bible schools, and like it wasn't like because Dan Custis preached or I preached that the people were coming forward. It was like the VBS was teaching. They were coloring, John 3:16 and learning about what that is all about. They were doing the salvation bracelets. They were singing about, Jesus and salvation. Like the whole day, everything was all about Jesus and salvation and our need for have our sins forgiven through the blood of Christ. And it all just kind of came to a head in the revival times and the teaching that they all work together, and there's been life change. So you did well. You sent us. You allowed us to go. The team did well. God wins, and Africa literally is different today because of that. Plan to go again next year. Right now, the dates are July 12th through 26th. Will in the next few months. It is an election year next year, so I'm going to get some feedback from them before we have set plans. But there'll be an information meeting. Keep information on that if you're interested. Either November, maybe probably more like January, early January, so we can get that team, next year's team, set and ready to go and start planning. I'm not even worried about what the next team will look like, because God already has it figured out, and He'll get that done. So it's a good sign right there. We listened to God's leading, and He said, "Be quiet. We're going home." We got one more song, if you would. Let's pray. Oh, wait. Can you show that quick video? I think it's 4 minutes or something. These are some of the baptisms, and I edited it together, so it's not like a big long drawn out thing. Yeah. Oh, people get baptized. Don't want to do that. I have no idea what they're saying in these pieces. I just know he rose his hand, and suddenly he baptized them, and someone else would come down. The guy in the blue shirt there, he ends up getting baptized too. He's helping with the baptisms. He's like, I'm going to do it too. And there were two more in the crowd that come in. If I knew it, I would have stood over there and got a better view, but I didn't know what direction they were going.
Amen. Say it. Amen. Amen. This is their winter.
very cold to them. The water is. They'd be like us maybe in December going down to the river here in town and getting baptized. There's the helper. That was so awesome. Two more suddenly jumped on, so I was. By then, I got to the other side. I could. Should be one more. Whew. Yeah. That makes it worth every penny, every moment, every. Man, those are small airplane seats. I don't care. It's worth it. Let's pray. Father, thanks for what you've done. Generations have been changed. Life has been altered for many people, and the ripple effect will be others that go follow as well. I thank you. Even the reports we're hearing now, a week later, of the excitement and the enthusiasm and the zeal for you, your kingdom continues. I pray it won't go out. We're all human, and we start to waver sometimes in our zeal for your kingdom. I pray it won't happen there. Keep that fire flame going hot. Lord, save Africa. I pray that it will spread here too, though. Johnston needs saved. The Des Moines area needs saved. Iowa needs saved. This whole country. We have a message for the people that you died for. May we be bold as we go out this week and share your love. In Jesus' name, amen.